Good morning, everyone. Dear students, today we are going to understand and study a famous poem ever written by Thomas Gray. That is Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard. Though it is a long poem, but you will enjoy it very much when you go through it. Before we go with the stanzas or the lines of the elegy, we should try to know something about the poet Thomas Gray, who was born 26 December 1760 and he died on 30 July 1771. He also did not live long. He was an English poet, letter writer, classical scholar, and professor at Pembroke College, Cambridge. He is widely known for his Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard, which published in 1751. It's a very famous poem. Thomas Gray was an extremely self critical writer who published only 13 poems in his lifetime. He has published only 13 poems, but they are very much popular. And he became a great poem because of them. He was even offered the position of poet laureate. He was awarded by the title of poet laureate in 1757, but he declined. He refused to receive that award. His writing is conventionally considered to be pre-romantics because we know that the romantic period starts from 1770 and he died in 1771. So before 1770 he has been there, he has written his poems, and after that 1770 the romantic revival started. So he is considered as the pre-romantic, but the recent critical developments or the critics deny such technological classification. That is, there is no pre-romantic type of things. He spent most of his life as a scholar in Cambridge. Only later in his life did he begin traveling again. He was one of the least productive poets because if we calculate all the lines of his poems or his works, they are fewer than 1000 lines. Regarded as the foremost English language poet of mid 18th century. So this is about his life, and so far his works we have already discussed that he has written only 13 poems covering less than 100 lines in total. The poems which are famous he has written are Ode on the Spring, written in 1742, On the Death of Richard West, written in 1742. It is said that Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard was in fact written in order to memorize the death of Richard West. That is, in order to mourning, in order to express his grief on the death of his great friend Richard West. Ode on the Death of a Favorite Cat Drowned in a Tub of Goldfishes, that was written in 1747. Ode to a Distant Prospect of Eton College, written in 1747 and published anonymously, that is, we don't know when did it publish. And Elegy, so far is concerned, we have already spoken, come to know that it was published in 1751, though it was written between 1745 to 1750. The Progress of Poesy is another one of the famous poem written ever by Tennyson. That is a Pindaric ode, and it was written between 1751 to 1754. The Bard, a Pindaric ode again. It was written between 1755 to 1757. And the Fatal Sisters, that is again an ode. He has written Pindaric ode, which are very famous, written in 1761. So these are the chief works written by Tennyson, Alfred Tennyson, that we have the knowledge about him. So far now the poem is concerned, dear students, this is an elegy. So you should first understand what is an elegy. So elegy is also a poem. It may be a small poem, it may be a long poem, though we have this poem a long one. But what is an elegy? It is a technical literary terms. An elegy is a poem that is written in order to mourn. M-O-U-R-N. Mourn means to express grief for someone who has died and who was very much close to the poet. So a person who was very much close to the poet or was his great friend, he died. So when you write something in order to express your grief, that is called an elegy, a poem, a grief poem. So its origins we don't know, but it was partly inspired by Gray's thoughts following the death of the poet Richard West in 1742. As I told you that his best friend Richard West, he died in 1742. So in order to mourn, in order to express his grief on his death, Gray might have written this elegy. Although when we go through this poem, we will find that this poem is not addressed at all to any one person or to one of his friends, but it is addressed to the common people. So it is only said that it was written following the death of the poet Richard West in 1742, but it may be another thing that Gray was inspired to write this elegy. Gray reflects on the lives of the humble and unheralded people buried in the country churchyard in which he is standing. So the theme of this poem is that here Gray reflects his own ideas. He expresses his own grief for the lives of the humble people, for the lives of those people who are not at all respected and welcomed and are not honored at all, and they are buried in a country churchyard, not a city churchyard. And there the poet is standing. When the poem begins, we will find that the poet is standing in a country churchyard, and there he is expressing his feelings, his ideas and thoughts. About the elegy, I have already spoken to you. That is, normally mourns the loss of an important famous person. But so far this poem is concerned, the short and simple annals of the poor. This poem is concerned for those people, about those people who were poor, about the poor people's story, about their short and simple annals, means the story of the poor. So this is what we have the theme of this poem. I think you have been following with me. Okay, okay. Now we go with this point. And in this lecture, we will discuss only the two stanzas of this poem, the beginning stanzas. And I first recite these two stanzas, then we will try to understand them. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day. The lowing herd wind slowly over the lea. The ploughman homeward plods his weary way and leaves the world to darkness and to me. Now fades the glimmering landscape on the sight, and all the air a solemn stillness holds, save where the beetle wheels his droning flight, and drowsy tinklings lull the distant faults. Very beautiful beginning, very beautiful lines we have ever read. Dear students, the poet, as I told you, is standing in a country churchyard. And what is the time here is very important. And the time is of the evening time. Evening time of a village. Evening time of a country churchyard. So here the word the curfew tolls the knell of parting day. In fact, the English towns had a curfew at the time of Elizabethan period, the time when a bell was rung in the evening, and that was the signal for the people that they should put out their fires and go to bed. That is, it was a bell that was the signal of the parting of the day, closing of the day. And knell is a symbolic because it is used when describe the type of bell rung at funerals. In fact, the knell is the bell which is generally rung at the time of funerals. Here, the bell was rung in the evening. It was the symbol of the end of the day. So here the poet says that the day is ending because the curfew tolls. Okay? Because it is now time that the bell has rung, and it shows that the day is ending, and the people now should return to their homes. So in fact it is an evening time, it is the time of twilight when the night in fact begins. Here the poet used the word knell. As I told you, the meaning of the knell that it is a bell which is rung at the time of funeral. But now here the poet has used. So you see that since the day is also dying, day, parting day, that is the death of the day. It means the day is dying, and now the night begins. Therefore, the poet has specifically used the word the knell. So we should understand that it is the time of evening, and the poet is standing in a country churchyard. Okay? The lowing herd winds slowly over the lea. Lowing herd. That is, herd means the cattle which are lowing. They are lowing They are humble cattle, lowing herd, lowing cattle, humble cattle. That is the sheep. They are wind slowly over the lea. They are winding slowly over the lea. They are moving slowly over the lea, means over the meadow. So, at the time of evening or at the time of twilight, that is, it is now the evening time, the cattle, the sheep are moving slowly over the meadow where they were taken in order to graze them, in order to feed them. So in villages, in our uh, country side, rural areas, the animals, the cattle are taken away to the meadows in order to feed them in the day. But now it is evening time, so these cattle are returning towards the home, towards their enclosures, towards the village after having having been feeded on the meadow, and the shepherd is with them. Then what other image that the poet creates here in this poem, in these lines? So the first imagery is that of the evening time in a country churchyard, and in the evening time that the cattle are, so he depicts a picture of the evening time of a country, of a village site, countryside. The plowman homeward plods his weary way. The plowman means the farmer. The farmer homewards means towards the home. Plods means moves, goes, walks. His very way. His very way. That is the plowman, that is the farmer, is also returning towards his home after having worked so hard in the field, and he is returning on his very way. Very beautiful here. His very way. Way is very. Way is very means way is the tired here. So you see how the poet used this adjective with the way. How we can think that the way can be tired. Man can be tired, not the way. But here the poet has used this word, this adjective with the way. His very way. It means that the way is not tired, but the farmer is tired because of the hard work. Therefore, the farmer is feeling the way very difficult to pass. The farmer is feeling the way very long, because when we are tired, we feel so. So the plowman homewards plods his very way. That is, the farmer is moving, plodding towards the home after having worked hard in the field, and he is completely tired, fatigued. Okay? And leave the world to darkness and to me. And so what's happening? That the poet says that in this way, this leaves the world, the whole world. The whole world is now towards the darkness and to me. So now the darkness, or it is the time of twilight. So darkness is approaching, the night is approaching, and the whole world is now in the darkness, and the poet himself in the darkness. So the darkness here is the symbol of solitudeness, is the loneliness, and the poet also feels here lonely because there is no one else there in the country churchyard or in surrounding except, he says, the darkness and himself. Both are there, nothing else is there. In this way, the poet in these beginning lines of the poem depicts a picture of a countryside where the farmer is returning towards his home after having worked hard so, and he is fatigued, and where the animals, the cattle, are also returning after the day's feeding, and the absolute darkness is there and the poet is alone. And how it is expressed, that the bell is rung, the curfew tolls the knell of the parting day, right? Okay, now see another four lines. Next stanza, stanza number 2. Now fades the glimmering landscape on the sight. The poet is alone there, the darkness is approaching. So now fades the glimmering landscape on the side. Earlier, when the night was just approaching, before the night's approach, the landscape could be seen very well, glimmering landscape. But now this glimmering of the landscape is fading, is going to become dim. It cannot be seen now. The landscape now cannot be seen. This is what here the poet says. That is, it is increasing harder to see. So now fades means disappears. The glimmering landscape, the landscape which was glimmered, which was shining just few minutes before on the sight, that could be seen, but now it cannot be seen. And all the air a solemn stillness hold. And all around the air is calm, peace, still, stop. The air is stopped, and there is a solemn stillness hold, complete seriousness and peacefulness and calmness is surrounding the whole environment and atmosphere and the landscape and the village or the country churchyard where the poet is standing. So you see that it's a very solemn and reflective tone we have. Solemn, seriousness now approaches with the darkness of the night. So everywhere there is quietness. Save means here accept. In this poem where you have this word save, it means accept, इसके बावजूद, इसके अलावा. So everywhere there is the quietness, complete quietness, seriousness, because the night has surrounded, night has approached, night has covered everywhere, and the darkness is there. So except where the beetle wheels is drawn in flight, except we can hear only this sound. Which kind of sound? The beetle wheels, these are the insects which makes their sound in that time, in the evening time. So where the beetle wheels because this you can say moves in circle, because these insects moves in wheel, in circle, in cycling, drawing flight. They are drawing flight. So because of this, they are drawing flight and moving. There is kind of sound that only can be heard there. And what else can be heard there? And drowsy twinkling lull the distant folds. The distant folds means distant enclosures where the sheep or where the cattle have been kept. And What's happening there? That these cattle or the he cattle in which a bell is hung around the neck, and it makes the sound when the cattle moves or shakes. So the drowsy twinklings, because the cattle are also drowsy, they are to sleep, but when they are drowsy in their enclosures, the twinkling, that is the sound of the bell which is hung in their neck, can also be heard from there. So here this line refers to the serene sounds coming from a bell that hangs around the neck of a male sheep that leads the flock. So that kind of the sound can only be heard there. So the here poet means to say that this seriousness, this quietness, calmness of that landscape is only disturbed by the beetle wheels making their droning flights and the twinkling sound of the drowsy cattle which have been kept in the enclosures, जिनको कि उनके बाड़े में बांधा हुआ है, उनके गले में जो घंटी लगी हुई है उसकी आवाज़ तथा जो इंसेक्ट्स जो बीटल हैं, व्हील्स हैं, उनकी आवाज़ के अलावा वहाँ पर कंप्लीट शांति है. दिस इज़ वॉट द पोइट वांट्स टू से. सो इट क्रिएट्स द सीरियसनेस ऑफ द atmosphere and environment. I hope I have explained everything. You can also go through this PDF and then you will be able to understand it in a better way. And so far the rhyme scheme of this poem is concerned. This is, we have AB and AB. This poem has been written in a iambic pentameter, that is the unstressed and stressed syllables, and 5 feet have been used. So this is what we have. Sound peaceful and sleepy like everything is winding. Alliteration, we also have the alliteration in these lines, just like solemn stillness. So S, we have the repetition of the sound se sound, alliteration. And personifications, we have tinkling of the bells, because when he says that they are drowsy, so here the bells are not drowsy, but the cattle are drowsy. So here bell has been personified. In the same way, the poet uses the transfer epithet that I told you in the very beginning stanza, that is the very way. This is the best example of transfer epithet. So in this way, please enjoy this poem. In our next lecture, we will discuss with another 2 or 3 stanzas. Till then, thank you very much. Bye bye. See you.